Hi, and welcome to the Ladies of the Paranormal World. Today we are here with Talk Haunted to Me. We have Chris and I'm sorry,
You're good, Skinner.
Skinner. We have Seth and Chris and Skinner with us today. You have my co-host Drusilla and Wendigo and Skinwalker. Skinwalker will actually be back shortly. We are here to talk to these guys about their podcast, which is Talk Haunted to Me. Guys, why don't you give us a little bit about yourselves, your background, and what made you start the show?
Well, I guess we have a little different kind of story. I've been in the paranormal since I can remember. I had an experience when I was like 9 or 10. I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was in Florida. Coming back, and I saw a hitchhiker on the side of the road, but I could see through him. It was pretty disturbing. Next day, we came back down that road, and I saw a cross where someone had been hit by a car there in the same spot. I didn't even know exactly what it was. It was at night, but as I was coming back and we hit the bend, I felt really sick to my stomach. Looked up and see it. So yeah, it was that affected me. My mom, so she kind of imparted that on me. And my dad was really into crypto, cryptics and stuff. So I'm into that. So Bigfoot and stuff.
We have some kind of background going on. Just 1 second.
Sorry.
Can everybody else mute themselves? We've got some kind of interference. Okay, you guys good? Let's try that again. Okay, I think we figured out where the feedback was coming from. Go ahead.
Oh, from the beginning?
No, not from the beginning. from where I said pause.
All right, yeah. So Skinner has a different story, I would assume.
I mean, mine was just I've always kind of watched the ghost paranormal shows. You know, was always intrigued by it. Parents really didn't. My dad at least didn't believe in any of it, so he kind of tried to make sure I didn't. But mom was a little bit different. She liked it, and once I met this guy and he started talking about his experiences, he's like, "Hey, I really want to investigate." I was like, "I'll give it a shot." And first time or two, I was like, "Yeah, I'm starting to understand." Seeing some stuff happens. Like, all right, I'm hooked now. I gotta do this. So,
it's
interesting as his, but
it's funny that you say that because I am obsessed with pretty much all of the ghost shows. One of my biggest ones is Ghost Adventures with Zach Baggins. His haunted museum is quite unique. I would love to actually get a chance to go and take a look at that someday. But along with the the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, which is something that I'm actually currently still watching. My obsession with the ranch is more UAP involved than paranormal, but it's an interesting and fascinating place anyway.
Very much so.
So, and we've had our experiences in my family, as Drusilla will tell you a little bit about hers, as well as Wendigo and Skinwalker when Skinwalker gets back. We'll tell you a little bit about theirs. But in the meantime, before we get into that, what made you guys turn this into a share and drink kind of show? Because I figure it's a really unique idea, and I think it's really cool.
Well, are we here for the booze?
Yeah. That's the only way I could get them to do it was if I had drinks there. I had to fit the tab every single time.
Have you seen my wallet? No.
Right. So I actually was a part of another podcast. We kind of tested that out a little bit. It was more just beer, a beer that had any kind of tie-in whatsoever. We had to stretch it a few times. Like there's like a pontoon brewing company, and we had to use that for our Lake Lanier episode because it's a pontoon, boats, Lanier, lake, whatever it worked. We were limited on the selection. So when we were going to do this podcast, we decided we would do something a little different, where we would try to do more like cocktails. And the whole premise of it is to try to make it to where we do it at the beginning of the show, and hopefully the person watching it can actually kind of partake if they want to. And then it just becomes a bunch of people hanging around, drinking and listening to stories and stuff. So it's kind of a way for them to be a part of the show with us. So yeah.
That is awesome. It's a great way to bring interaction into the show.
The other guy's reaction to the drinks is he usually overreacts a little bit.
Felicia has distinctive taste in drinks, so if he doesn't like it, you will know, and he is very He's small. He can't handle his liquor. So if someone steps in, the rest of us are finished. His is still sitting at the top, and he's just like,
I think we actually need to shrink the dose because he does dump out more than he drinks.
he does.
So it's just wasting stuff at this point. So we might just make him a kid glass.
Shot glass, the same size.
Just make him a shot glass worth.
Okay, now I know there are three of you. How did you guys meet?
We
to
actually
become part
work
of this?
together. So we're all in IT. So yeah, all three of us worked at a university at the time. Now I have moved on from the university. They still work there, but it's basically local. So that's how this kind of started. Was me just talking about my experiences and my investigations I've been a part of, and how like, hey, let's do something similar. Y'all want to do? Would you do an investigation with me? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And then that kind of snowballed into let's do a web series, and then let's do a podcast, and then we merged them into one. So just different content. Like the podcast we're doing a series right now on just different states. You'll notice in some of our states that we kind of not ignore, but we leave out some of the really haunted, like big time cities. Like Georgia, we didn't talk about Savannah because we're doing our own episode on Savannah. Florida, we left Key West off because Key West has so much that we want to do our own separate episode on that. So that'll continue to happen. But for the most part, we're talking about states. Then we have another one that's going to be on location. I think we have one of those episodes up now from a haunted location in Georgia. But we do a podcast at every location we investigate, which is fun. Sometimes it's a little rough. We did one in it basically was like the Arctic. It was Tennessee, but it was in January, so it's basically the Arctic.
Yeah. It was I think it was 19 degrees inside the building. The only
No, it was 19 outside the building.
Outside,
Inside it was colder for some reason. But yeah, it was brutal. You could hear it in our video footage of us shaking because it was so cold.
Yeah.
But we had a good time. Minus the
hypothermia.
Yeah. Lost a limb.
Yeah.
Lost a finger. Frostbite.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like it was something that I would have been like, I think I'll skip on that.
Yeah, we tried to dress up for it. We still underestimated how cold it was going to be. And in hindsight, we probably should have came in with like parkas and stuff, but we didn't think about it. I think we had some gloves and like skull caps and stuff like that, and it did not help at all. So, but it was fun. And we also do, like I said, we do the on location and we do the states, and then we also do individual places that are just there's so much information that it really doesn't. You can't throw it into one of these episodes, and then we're not gonna. It'll be a while before we can get out there and investigate there, so it's not going out beforehand. So Waverly Hills, we just finished episode on that. We'll be uploading pretty soon, and then other places like Rose Hall and stuff like that, we'll be talking about in further detail.
Wow. And now, are you guys going to perhaps do the Lizzie Borden house or the Williska Axe Murder house or anything of those natures? Because those are ones that really tend to capture the audience.
Yeah, the Axe Murder house is one on my bucket list. I traveled to Iowa, but it's out there. Yeah, I want that one. Waverly Hills is obviously on one of the top. I've done Moon River, which is one of my top ones in Savannah. Moon River Brewing. Amazing place. We didn't really have any experiences necessarily. We had one crazy experience with all the equipment died at the same time, except for the one camera we had plugged into a power source, and it just started changing colors midstream or mid capture. All our GoPros and everything else just died.
Oh wow!
It was just sucked out of them. We had probably another hour and a half worth of battery before we were supposed to change them out, and they all died. It was crazy. Other than that, we didn't really have much there, but it's a cool place. And then there's tons of places in Savannah I would love to go to. But yeah, the Axe Murder House is definitely one of my probably top three.
I've heard that one's got a very oppressive feeling to it, and you can definitely feel something very negative, very evil there.
Oh yeah.
As well as the Lizzie Borden house, which, if not mistaken, the Lizzie Borden house also had a murder prior to the Lizzie Borden murders, which was the mother who killed 2 children in the home, and then herself. Yeah. So that house itself has a pretty dark history. So that one definitely captures the imagination a little bit.
Yeah, those Gettysburg obviously would be a great one to go to. Just seen a lot of really awesome captures there. Rose Hall, which means we're going international at that point, would be great. Ancient Ran In would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Those kind of places. So it's definitely.
Have you considered possibly going to Bobby Mackey's?
Oh yeah.
Now that one I've heard has left its lasting effect on the Ghost Adventures crew as well as many other paranormal investigating groups that have been there. Are you worried that that might be some kind of backlash after going there?
I don't know. I would love to. Yeah, we try to approach it. Obviously, you can't completely block out stories and things that have happened, but we try to go as scientific as possible. We have tons of equipment, different types of cameras, phasm lights, like infrared, ultraviolet. We have response devices, laser grids, FLIR cameras, all that kind of stuff. So we try to take the, I guess, fear out of it. That doesn't always work. We have a wonderful story about one of the places in Tennessee we went to an old hospital, and we were coming around a corner. I capture it with a FLIR camera. Nothing's there, and there's a dead end at the end of that hallway. Like it's only probably 20 feet.
Yeah,
the dead end,
maybe
30
20 feet, and we heard
hear a loud bang, and
He
so we
jumps
kind
into
of
me.
back up a little bit, bump into him. Like, what was that? And then we turned to Swisher, who's farther down. We're like, hey man, did you hear that? He's like, no, and he's just kind of walking towards us. And then the room next to him, where there's like this,
it was the old
lab,
the old medical lab where
Yeah,
they
the old
did
lab.
testing and everything.
loud bang just happens in it, and there's like no one there except for on the other end there's someone who's there just to make sure we don't steal stuff. There's a loud bang, and he just bolts towards us.
He bolts with
running full sprint.
running full sprint with clenched cheeks. I saw him lift up in the air.
Oh my god!
He's trying, so there's not much cheek to clench, but he's trying. And he's running for his life.
Yeah, we went to that room to investigate, and he was like, "I'm not going in there first." And he didn't want to be in the middle. He wanted to be at the very end. I'm like, "You're safe in the middle." He refused to be in the sandwich on that one. So there was, he always gets very startled.
Yeah, we haven't had any, so far we haven't had any run-ins with any real negative entity or demonic entity or anything like that, which the places we've been to aren't really known for it. We did go to one that had basically a criminal, because it's a jail, an old jail.
Mm-hmm. So it had that criminal element, the darkness from that.
Oh, he's pretty vicious apparently. We never got anything from him. But he had made some very vulgar comments on EVPs towards females and stuff.
Mm.
So, but we never got any of that. We never got an EVP session. We didn't get anything on camera. No real negative, except for the fact that you're in a jail cell, which was creepy on its own. Nothing really with him.
Now, did you try using any kind of trigger objects, like women's clothes, or even possibly bringing a female into the environment to see if it would change the environment that you were experiencing?
Yeah, it's pretty strange. Yeah, there was a female there. Wasn't a part of our team, but was there, and we were able to bring her up to check it out. But apparently, the main guy who kind of is like the gatekeeper of that place for anybody who wants to investigate, he has a relationship with the entity.
Oh.
Apparently, he doesn't like him either, and they get into arguments and stuff. So he came up and tried, but we didn't catch anything there during that session either. So we were a little disappointed with that trip. The other one that was cold. We had a lot of interesting stuff happen. That was pretty exciting. That's in Tennessee. Both of those were actually in Tennessee.
Oh wow. Okay. So I know that there's also Pennhurst, which is here where I live, in Spring City, Pennhurst State School and Hospital, which I am obsessed to. I'm dying to go and do my own experience there. But there's a lot there that maybe you guys could even want to check out and put part of your investigation into. Now, with your show, will you be releasing any of the footage evidence that you guys have captured during your experiences?
Yeah, we have a tendency to have bad luck when it comes to recording. So we have the equipment to do a show, and that's our plan. But every single episode, we've had some sort of technical issue. The big one up in the hospital, our camera, most of the footage was wiped because of a hard error. So we lost half of our footage there from that. Now we have footage from our GoPros and everything else, but it's not as good as the professional cameras the camera that we had. There wasn't anything that really happened. I'm not a fan of the reality aspect for most part because I don't want to fake anything. People have been caught in that. I know ghost hunters have been caught a couple of times doing it. They're not all this stuff's fake, but I guess when it's a slow investigation or nothing's really happening, they might do something to do it. And we're trying not to do that because we want it to be as real as possible. So we might have episodes or investigations that don't make it to air because nothing happened. But we do have a couple of shorts already out on YouTube of some of the things we've captured. We have a response device that does a yes or no kind of response, green light, red light. It measures electromagnetic fields, motion sensing, and everything else. And we could get the entity in that room to talk occasionally. She didn't really like Skinner at all.
But she would answer me the most, though, which was weird.
She'd also didn't let us do. We asked. Apparently, she didn't like being in the door closed on her. And
I asked her. I told him, I'm like, "Hey, close the door." She apparently hates that. He's like, "Okay, I'll do it." And the second he moved to go to the door, it went red.
And the device all the way on the other side on her bed, and
we're not near
it goes that way. So I'm all the way over here, and I go to move, and it says no. And then I asked if he was her friend. She said no. And then I asked if we could if she would move a ball. There was some trigger toys and stuff for her to interact with. And the moment I didn't get finished with my sentence, I was like, "Hey, can you I don't know, move that balloon or move that ball?" I was like, "Oh, never mind, sorry." But those are the only times she really interacted much on the device.
I think we did have it where she was out in the. She wasn't in the room. We were like, "Hey, are you in here?" And I'm like, "Would you please come out of the hall?" I was trying to be funny. It said yes or something like, or no, and I'm like,
said no. Yeah.
Said no. I was like, "Well, are you in here now?" And it went green. I'm like, "What?" Yeah, so it was really weird how that played out, but
there's a certain smoke that comes through there occasionally. There's an old doctor that had a tobacco pipe that he would smoke while he was working there. Yeah, we had that come through twice, and it would only come through if we had a certain lady there that they had mentioned. She looks like someone he knew in life. I don't know if it was his wife or his wife's mother or something.
His ex-wife.
Yeah. And when she would show up, it would take a minute, and all of a sudden you'd see it come through. On a FLIR camera, I caught a orb bouncing around at that point when he comes through. No other time did we get that dot or that glowing orb moving around. And it was on thermal. It wasn't just a picture. It was pure thermal, and it only showed up when he showed up in the room. And then he left, and it never showed up again. So we caught some really good stuff there.
So you also had the one when we went back up to the third floor when I thought I'd left something. And I moved, and you saw something go behind me.
I didn't have it record, though.
Yeah.
I had not hit the record button on the FLIR camera, so I saw something walk behind him going down the hall and didn't capture it. A little brokenhearted. But we have plans to hit. We have a hotel stay at 1790s Inn in Savannah, which is haunted by the ghost of Anne. We actually got her room, so it's room 204. We'll be staying there 2 nights, so we'll do a live stream of that investigation, and we're doing it for both nights, just so we can get more data. There's also another ghost in that building in the downstairs. It was a former slave and voodoo priestess who worked in the kitchen, and apparently she doesn't like women, so that doesn't help us much. But
you look good in the wig, though.
I mean, just pull this up a little bit around this side. I look more like a lion, but she has a tendency to mess with lights. She's throwing pans at people, and people have heard like rattling of like bracelets and stuff from her. So we're hoping they'll allow us to check that out while we're there, because we're paying for 2 nights. I think they'll let us do it. And then there's some cemeteries down there that are really haunted. I mean, like I said, we talked before, Savannah is like it's more likely you have a haunted house than you don't have one.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of houses and roads and streets that are on top of burial sites because they couldn't find their relatives to give permission to move graves, so they just built them. So
Oh wow.
it's pretty wicked down there. Just the stories they tell. There's really, really crazy stories, and most places there embrace it. There are a few that don't. Doesn't stop the stories, but they're not,
They're not too keen on going, yeah, my house is haunted.
Yeah. There's a couple of hotels that they're elegant upscale hotels and they don't like to talk about it. But if you look at their guest book or any review, people are talking all about like the hauntings that are in there. Tons of ghost tours, everything down there. So we're excited about going to Savannah. I've done investigations there already, and we're about to do this one there. We're looking at maybe trying to get another investigation while we're down there, since we're already going to be down there. It's a little trip for us, so we'd like to capture as much as possible. Pennsylvania,
launch ticket.
Pennsylvania, we'd love to go up there. There's tons of places that we've seen up there, hotels and stuff that have haunts. So we thought about going up there. Swisher's actually from Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, he's up there.
I've actually got an entire list of places just in my local area, and there's over 50 different places just in my local. I mean, most of Pennsylvania is battlefield history, so yeah, you're right. There's a lot that you can definitely do here, and most of it is free, surprisingly enough. So that's one of the things I'm going to be doing on my own end, is our own investigations that will be released within the podcast at some point in the future.
We have there's two battlegrounds out here that are purportedly haunted. One is Kennesaw the battlefield in Kennesaw battlefield, Kennesaw Mountain there. It's not as well known, but there have been reports of fog rolling in. You hear battles going on during that while it's there, and apparently ghost deer. Well, I don't know about that, but they phantom deer and animals running by and disappearing. And then there's the more famous ones, Chickamauga.
Chickamauga is awesome. I've been there. I've lost track how many times I've actually gone on the guided tours, and I love going up there. It's always relaxing. But I have been through, and there was nothing but fog in the fields, and up to like half of the door in your car's thick. And I roll the windows down, hoping I'd hear something. And this is before I was really interested in paranormal, so I thought I was going to hear cannon fire that day.
They have basically reenactments of battles. There's a kind of a lady, I think she's lady in white, that she looks around for one of the soldiers she loved. There's Old Green Eyes, which is a Confederate soldier that'll basically stare you down until you get out of sight. And then there is more of a creature they talk about, just some kind of weird beast that people talk about too, like a
another cryptid. Oh, not a cryptid, but a spirit.
Spirit, but it's been seen there and heard there too. So you've got quite a few things just on that battleground. Those are the two I know of, really. I mean, there's a lot of towns that were part of war. Savannah is full of stories from the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. Just information from there. So,
Drusilla, you and I were actually talking about the lady in white being a recurring theme. It's funny that you mentioned that, because it seems like every time there's some kind of woman that's been betrayed or scorned or has died without being able to find their lover, they're always recognized as a lady in white. Drusilla, thoughts on that real quick?
That's what I've heard. If she was scorned by her lover, for some reason it seems that women that have had scorned, lost a loved one, that they just can't handle it, she always tends to show up in white. So that one's a little odd, because you'd figure each person is individual, be different, but obviously it's because of the circumstances that's the way it is.
we've seen a lot of ladies, like Lady in White, Lady in Black, Gray Lady. There's actually one we'll be talking about it a little bit on our next episode, which is on Tennessee. In the Gaylord Opryland Resort, there is the Lady in Black, who also sometimes is the Lady in Red. She's actually, depending on what she changes her outfit. So we'll be talking about that a little bit on that episode. I went hunting for her because I actually stayed there once, knew about her, so I walked up and down that place late at night trying to see her. She shows up around 3 usually. But it's such a massive place. It was hard, it'd be really hard to pinpoint her. She likes to be around the elevators, but she also goes to some of the stores at closing, and then she also wanders up and down the hallways of the hotel itself. So it's, I guess, tough to pinpoint her. But yeah, there's a whole lot of ladies in white, ladies in black, ladies in gray. There's a couple, I think, ladies in green. Especially in, I think, England, there's a green lady. I don't remember the location off the top of my head, but I think there's a lady called the Green Lady. Has a green glow to her. So it is interesting. We've actually talked about that before, just similarities state to state. So, everyone's got some sort of gravity hill, like car moves when you stop it at the bottom, it'll move uphill kind of thing. Almost every state has that. You've got your ghostly hitchhikers that tend to be all over the place. Just there's tons of those, and it's hard to get the fact from the fiction. What's a rumor, what's a story versus what actually has transpired? Is there anything to warrant that? We try to get with we try to learn the history of the places we go to, and that might involve actually talking to a historian. And just talking with them, we found out a lot of things that the story goes, this kid died and now haunts this place. Well, there's no record of that kid ever being there. There might be someone similar that died, but the story is warped so much that it's nowhere similar to that at that point. So yeah, it's trying to weed through the rumors and just the stories and stuff that come up and try to find the truth in it, and then try to capture as much as you can.
It's kind of
Right,
like phone, huh? The game phone.
Yeah.
Where you tell one person one thing, you're supposed to tell the same, and by the time you get 10, it was nowhere near what the first person said.
Oh, yeah. I we've run into that a lot, so it's really good to do your research as much as you can, and then hopefully you find someone who's already done the research. that's a lot easier if you just have a historian that will sit down and talk to you and be like, yeah, we know for a fact this person was real. They passed away there. Here's all the sightings that have been seen since that do match up with what that person was, or what, all that. And then there's others that are just like that never existed.
It's crazy. There's so many different myths or legends out there about certain things. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but the Calicky Cat Mansion in Ireland.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
You'll have to look it up. It's the Calicky Cat Mansion. Yeah, or maybe it's the Ram in. It's in Ireland.
Okay.
Whichever one. It's in Ireland, and the legend is about this demon cat. And what's said to have happened is the Calicky Cat was tortured and then burned as a sacrifice by somebody. I can't remember who. The legend is so long. But it came back as a demon cat. And anytime that the picture is flipped upside down, the cat can be heard growling and hissing, and all kinds of crazy stuff starts happening in the house. And then once you flip it back normal, it all just stops. So it's located in Ireland. It's along the Hellfire series of things. I don't know if you've ever watched Ghost Adventures, but Zach Baggins actually did an investigation on the house. That's the only reason it came to mind for me, is because of the legend that surrounded the house was based on what happened to that cat and how it became demon cat.
I don't know why that reminded me. I think it's because you talked about the picture being turned upside down. Have you ever seen stories, and I bring this up because I actually know a friend who, his family member had this happen to him, but taking something from a haunted site and bringing it home with you, and the only remedy is to take that thing back where it was and leave it back where it came from. So,
Drusilla's got a good story on that one.
yeah, mine's pretty quick, but
I'm
it's
from
just
Hawaii, so.
yeah.
And our legends go that if you steal a lava rock off of our island,
Mm-hmm.
like you get bad luck. Like horrible things can happen to you. So every day there are hundreds of rocks that are sent back to the post office.
Yeah, mailed back. Yeah.
So
I've heard that story. There's also a ghost town in somewhere out west in the United States, and people have actually sent back like just dust that their shoes collected because of the bad luck that happens to them because of it. And they warn you, don't take anything with you, not even a rock, nothing from that site because it's cursed. The friend I have, his family has some property on the other side of Georgia that apparently there was a Civil War battle on at one point, or at least they stayed there or something. And they won't go out at night or anything like that because of how haunted it supposedly is. Well, his uncle found an old bayonet blade, and so he brought it home with him, and he drove. It's like 2 hours of food, so he goes back home and puts it on his mantle. He said almost immediately he started feeling and hearing stuff, and it got so bad that you could actually hear boots, like big boots, stomping through the house, even though he was by himself. And so he had heard the stories, but he dismissed it. And then because all that stuff was happening, he grabs the bayonet blade, gets back in his car, drives it 2 hours back, and throws it out the window onto the property. Doesn't even get out. Doesn't even stop. Just tosses it right out the window onto the grass and hauls butt. So nothing happened to him after that. Yeah, I was just wondering what y'all thought of it. I've heard a few different stories like that where haunted objects and bring something. And,
I've heard that there are quite a few places out there that are like that. Azkaban being one of them, or Alcatraz, not Azkaban. We went Harry Potter for a minute. Alcatraz is said to be one of those places that you aren't really supposed to take anything from the island itself, where it can cause bad luck.
Yeah, I have an acquaintance who he's doing some remodeling projects on Alcatraz, and he caught a really, really good apparition in one of the what room was it? I don't know if it was the kitchen or if it was somewhere else, one of the kitchens. But he's got, really crazy looking thing just kind of formed out of nowhere in the middle of the room, and he's got a picture of it. He's having to stay there a lot to work. He's not, terrified or anything. He didn't feel threatened, but really good capture at Alcatraz.
Oh,
Which
wow.
to stop.
It would be.
The prisons just sound great anyways. There's brushy mountain penitentiary in Tennessee is really, really haunted. You had Eastern State Pen.
Mm-hmm.
What's this?
Isn't there one in the middle of Georgia somewhere? Or was that it was so haunted. I can't remember.
Well, there's Andersonville, which was a kind of a prison during the Civil War. I don't know about apparitions, but I've seen stories of the feeling of like hopelessness, depression, suicidal thoughts, just stepping on that area, because you're getting that energy from the Civil War soldiers who were trapped there. So have y'all had any? We've had some experiences. I guess it's before this podcast. But, in like famous places. Like, have you ever seen Robert?
Give me a second. Sorry, let me get my daughter out real quick.
I'm on camera. I gotta dance.
Mm.
That's right.
What?
That's right. My entire kingdom for a bag of chips.
What kingdom?
I don't know. Well, see, that's why I can say it. So trade nothing for a bag of chips. You got bag of chips on the box.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
No
Sorry.
worries.
I was gonna say, have
Children's.
you ever another cursed object? I've actually been face to face with is Robert the Doll. Have you ever seen anything about Robert the Doll?
Robert the Doll. That one sounds familiar. Hold on. Is that the one that if you like hold it can scratch you and like if you touch it, you're not supposed to touch it?
Yeah, you're not supposed to take pictures of it. Apparently, if you take pictures of it, you will have bad luck. You have to ask permission. Apparently.
Yeah. Okay. I remember seeing another show where
Yeah.
he was showcased.
And a lot of his former owners after his first owner, all his former owners after that tend to suicide themselves. So yeah, or something just really bad happens. So he's been passed around. Now he's locked in a bulletproof like glass case at Fort Morello. It's in Key West. I went when I was in high school. He's creepy. He's creepy. Any doll from that time period is creepy, but he definitely does not give you a good feeling when you're around him.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, this doll has cracks, and I mean, if you look at it, it's all kinds of damage to begin with, so it looks creepy just looking at it. But then there's supposed to be a lot of negative feeling that comes off of it too. Very oppressive, like you could become possessed at any time just by being close to it. So that one's another one that is a creepy one, along with the Annabelle doll, which is a famous said to be able to kill you doll.
If you look in the corner of our setup in our studio, I have unfortunately it's the movies Annabelle doll, but I do have it in the corner at the top of the glass case. We have a Annabelle doll there.
Mm-hmm.
It's her own little miniature glass case. So
yeah, that's let's keep it there. Let's stay there. Drusilla, any questions for these guys before we continue on?
No, you pretty much asked all I was going to ask. So, yeah, I wanted to know why, how they got started and all that kind of stuff. But you already asked that. So,
I'm sorry. You can say you want to ask questions.
I'm just joking. They answered the questions I was going to ask.
Now, will you guys be giving out or creating your own brand t-shirts and stuff?
Yeah, so we actually have another. Well, you can see it on the thumbnails of our episodes. There's a little ghost with a drink. Well, we haven't named him yet. We got to name him.
We gotta name him. He's just depressed IT ghost like us.
Yeah, he's just depressed IT ghost. But we'll be doing a lot of stuff with him. Then our main logo. We have a store, but I'm not complete. I haven't completed all the merchandise out of it yet. And then we've already got stickers and coasters made. But we'll be doing a lot more with that as we design those.
Gotcha.
We'll also be on Haunt Atlanta as an exhibitor at the end of September. It's the first ever Atlanta Paranormal Conference. So yeah, we'll be a part of that. And yeah, that's basically all we have like news wise right now is just that conference we're getting ready for, trying to get as much content as we can out, and then our Savannah trip coming up. The problem with investigations, especially the bigger places that actually allow you to go, is they're all booked up. You got to get to booking those places in like January. As soon as they open up their calendar, you better start. Hey, I want to do this date. I want to do this date. I want to do this date. So we're definitely going to be doing that in January. So we're ramping up our investigations at that point.
Oh, I do have a question. Are you guys just going to stick with the ghost, or are you guys going to go beyond that
So
with your show?
this podcast is just Ghost. My previous podcast, which we did, I want to say like 50 episodes or no, like 25 actually. It was called Touched by a Podcast, and it was all things. So it was, Men in Black one episode, UFOs one episode, Black Eyed Kids, Waverly Hill, Ghost, Swamp Ape. Like we did everything. So I'm like obviously I didn't have my hat on when I first started, but she had mentioned cryptids, so I was like, hey, my Sasquatch hat's in the car. Actually, from Expedition Bigfoot they actually have two museums now. They have one in North Georgia, which is the one I go to, and then there's one for the Swamp Ape down in, I think, Sarasota. I haven't been to it yet, but I plan on it.
And we've talked about doing maybe like a special episodes where we talk about cryptids and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a few Bigfoot stomping grounds, pun intended, around our area. There's one right over the border in Alabama, and then North Georgia, especially Vogel State Park, is really well known for Georgia Bigfoot hunters because it's one of the largest, has largest density of Bigfoot sightings. So we've talked about doing that, going out there as well. I have some gear for it. I mean, I don't have enough really to do a full scale thing. Basically, just become the bait and try to get them to harass us as we're in at a campsite or something, because they have a tendency to bother you because they're curious. But there's a lot of gear I'd like to have before I launch an investigation out in the woods like that.
Shark cage for one.
No. No, I'm looking for more like a thermal drone to really get a lay of what's behind us and around us. I have some trail cams, but I don't have enough to really map it out the way I want to map it out. So we've given it plenty of thought, but it's not the priority at this moment.
I was just wondering if you guys were going to just stick with Ghost on this channel, or if you guys were going to pass.
Yeah, I mean, the name was talking to me, so we kind of hamstrung ourselves. We have to talk about Ghost, right? The game won't let us do anything else.
Yeah.
Now, I mean,
some people that just stick within a certain realm, basically. So.
Yeah, our podcast kind of encompasses everything and anything unexplained. So from UAPs to cryptids to paranormal to witchcraft to psychics to you name it, we cover it. So, and we try to think outside of the box, because there's a lot of people that would go, oh my God, you say that, you gotta be crazy. But they're really not. And in our family, we have what we call sensitives. Drusilla's a sensitive, I'm a sensitive, and so is our younger female companion. We don't put her on here, she's underage. Are all sensitives in our family. It seems to be a female thing. Might be more than that, Drusilla. You can probably cover that better than I can. I don't know about the boys.
I mean, I've had experiences, quite a few. I was driving one morning, and I had just dropped off my daughter and my mom's, so my mom could get her on the bus. And all of a sudden, like, this dude ran across my car, and like I slammed on the brakes, because from my point of view, I ran him over,
right?
But there was no like hitting You know, like when you hit a pigeon or something and you know you hit it.
Mhm.
But there was nothing like that. And I'm looking all over the place. I said, where the fuck is this guy? You know? But he was there and then he wasn't. Like, it's almost like he got ran over and then disappeared. So I've had that. I've had shadows throughout my home. I've had like cards fly off of my TV, and they're not just like crumble fall, like they've been almost like they've been flung off of my TV. Um, the most recent one, well, no, that's not the recent. I mean, it's pretty recent, but not like my recent. But me and Wendigo, we do dog rescue. So I transport dogs from state to state, and we were transporting a dog from California to Arizona, and we were driving, and I happened to look out the window, and there was look what like a coyote, and I said, "Oh well, you know, Wendigo, look at the coyote. His name's Walter." And we're watching it, and this thing starts to run, and then it goes up on 2 feet, so like, and continues to run, and then back down onto 4, and then disappears behind there's the plateaus and the little mountains, and it disappeared behind one of those, and we kind of looked at each other like, you know, did we just see that? Like, really see that? Because that was crazy. And I'm not getting out I'm not getting out of the car until I'm like hundreds and hundreds of miles away from this place, because behind the skinwalker legends, like, they're not so good. So yeah, I didn't want to encounter it. So
yeah, I was gonna ask, do you think it's a skinwalker? You think it's Dogman, that kind of stuff? Because you know they have some similarities. They have differences too, but similarities. So
I think it's basically, in my point of view, a skinwalker. Comes from, you know, the legend of some Indian tribes where they're like medicine people, or like they're witch type people, were cursed.
Yeah.
And so they change into this form, and a lot of them are like wolves, coyotes type. That's what they turn into. And so I think I've never heard the dog one. You know, I mean, I've heard where they say like lichens came from, you know, but I don't think it was that. But
I don't get usually outside of the coast instead of the west side of the coast. I know Michigan and Ohio are hotbeds, I guess, for sightings of Dogman. But yeah, I was wondering because it's definitely wolf. It's like basically what you would think a werewolf would be. Most people, they're just called Dogman up in that.
Yeah, and I know that started with
I don't know, whatever.
the werewolf started with catacombs. And it was a lady that was in the catacomb, and something took her. She didn't know at first, but they kept her, according to the stories. They kept her down there, and they were like wolf-like creatures, according to this. But this was like over 100 years ago.
Right.
You know, so, you know, we don't know what is truly true because the lady is not here. You know, she told people her stories, but, you know, it was never recorded. So, you know, it could be, you know, it was people like that had clothes, you know, like the skins and stuff, because I've seen people do that too, you know, trying to get like paranormal things where people, you know, basically the hoax. Oh, well, this is what we saw, you know, just to get people to view. But for hers, you know, it was stories told. So I honestly don't know, you know, but in the catacombs, I know there's a lot of crazy things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe it was true, and, you know, it's going along her story and it's actual truth, but, you know, you can't honestly say. But they say that's where the legend of the werewolf started.
Right. Okay.
I have a question for you guys. If you were able to go to one of the richer cultures, i.e., England, Europe area, what would be the one haunted place that you would want to, above all other places, go? If you had to choose, you had one choice.
They're like, man, this is a hard question.
Yeah. Come on.
I would probably say the Ram.
Ancient Raven's great.
Ancient
I would
Raven.
love to do that. The fact that it was like
Yeah.
built before it even got to, you know, quadruple digit years. Like it was because they built it when they were building castles. Tower of London though is fantastic. So many stories. Man, that's hard. That is really hard. No. But also, what is the place? Oh, this is gonna eat me up. There's a castle. It's a portal to hell. They boarded it up. A prisoner was dropped down there, and they brought him up. He'd aged like so many years. They boarded up the whole place. The walls seem to be, yeah, Huska Castle. There you go. That's been,
Oh, in Prague,
yeah, in Prague.
just north of it. Yeah.
So they built the castle almost like they were trying to keep something in and not keep things out. It was the opposite. And it's not just like there's crazy things that are in there. You hear like almost like something scratching at the floor and all that. But there's also an axe man that walks up and down the road. I don't know if he's trying to protect it or what. And just all kinds of crazy stuff in that area. That would be somewhere I'd like to go. And then there's a forest out there. I don't know where that one is. It's more. There's some paranormal, like there's some ghost type stuff that happen there, but there's more also like they think there might be portals to other dimensions. Lots of extraterrestrial activity in that area. The big story is the little girl who went into it, disappeared for many years, came back out as a little girl, and they have no idea how, because so many years had passed. She should have aged, and to her it had only been maybe an hour. But I can't remember the name of that one either. So
I actually think I know which one you're talking about, and I think that's one of the forests that she walked into.
Yeah.
With her doll, and she came back with that doll and was still the same age. I know which one you're talking about. I just, for the life of me, can't remember the name of the forest that it happened in.
Yeah.
But nothing seems to grow there. There's a whole section of that.
Yeah. Giant
Nothing
circle.
grows.
Nothing. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so we're thinking the same place.
I would also like to go to Suicide Forest in Japan. That would be wild to go there. Just it'd be a little disturbing because you could very well walk up on a dead person, because they still have that problem. People kill themselves all the time there, but just the stories of just the hauntings of it, like the different, you hear them calling, you hear crying, you go and you can keep going trying to find this person, you never find them, you get lost. Like it's just a crazy place, and it's also a very strange looking place. But Destination Truth did an episode there, and they caught, like it looked like it just rolls in, forms into a person, and then just dissipates again. And they capture it on camera.
I saw that episode. I was like, dude, I want to go there.
That was wild. I mean, it
You
looked.
said this was on Destination.
Destination Truth.
Josh Gates. It was one of Josh Gates' earlier show.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I know what that is.
Yeah, he went into that because he was trying to. That's when he was trying to like debug things.
Yeah.
Debug locations and all their stuff. but like it was crazy. Like there
I'm gonna have to check that out.
you did hear all these sounds, like people crying or certain things, and yeah, it was awesome. I was
Yeah, it
like,
came
dude,
up
I
with
want
a
to go there
head,
so bad.
arms. It was wild. And
Now, have you guys heard of Randonautica?
No,
It's an app. It's an app that supposedly takes you to places where crime scenes have occurred or paranormal events have occurred, and you're not even supposed to tell it where you want to go. It just takes you there.
Huh.
It's called Randonautica. I've actually heard of a few people that have used it that are actually very terrified of the app itself because they've come across evidence of brutal murders. So, maybe you guys want to check into that and use it and see if it gives you a little bit of, huh?
They're going to be implicated in murder. You're a
Um,
witness, Chris. No.
But I was just curious because there are people that are doing paranormal investigations that have used it as a reference point to maybe find other places that aren't listed, because there are a lot of places that are what you would consider not as famous haunts, that like here in Pennsylvania there's what's called the Devil House
Mhm.
or the Demon House. This older couple's been living there for the better part of 30 years, has tried to sell the house about 5 different times and has failed to sell it.
Is that the small house that, if you look from above, it looks like an upside down cross? The way they
Yeah.
had it designed. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
That house is actually here in Pennsylvania. It's approximately 45 minutes from where I live. The older couple still live there. The house is still on the market. Nobody's purchased it still. But there's a movie based on this house, as well as a few news reports that have been taken and interviews that have been taken there where they were actually chased out of the home. So this is a place that I would be intrigued to investigate personally. What do you guys think about doing something that is demonic in nature? Are you ever concerned about the repercussions of any kind of attachments or possessions or anything of that nature
So
when handling?
one of the guys that goes and does some investigations with us, he actually has some coins blessed by the Pope for, I think it's a St. Michael coin. We do carry that from time to time. Sometimes we'll leave it if we're not getting anything happen, but we do keep that. We haven't really went anywhere with demonic entities that we know of yet, but I do keep the St. Michael's prayer on a piece of paper so I can, if I need to, recite that, and it's supposed to help just keep them from attaching to that kind of thing. But yeah, we're very interested in that. Definitely the poltergeist activity too. Definitely want to test out some theories on that because there's different theories on poltergeist. If it's an actual entity, if it's actually subconsciously just the person that's causing these things because they have that trauma that's kind of brought it out of them. So things like that. We haven't run into it yet, but definitely not avoiding it. There's definitely a thing around here that has that.
A chance to, yeah, because I've heard about that too, where it's a debate. Some say it's from a living person who's had so much trauma in their life, and they, instead of talking about the trauma and everything, they suppress it, and then that's what you get a poltergeist from. But then, there's the poltergeist, like that was an entity, and it's learned how to really manipulate things to be
the physical realm.
Yes. So
yeah, it blurs the line a little bit. Some things that are they're ghosts, but they do interact. They toss a pan or something. Aren't necessarily considered poltergeist, but a lot of poltergeist activity is the throwing of objects, moving objects.
Yeah, like they're more. According to what I read about it, like their poltergeists are more than just normal. Because yes, you do have some normal, ghosts and stuff like that can, like toss a pot but I guess the poltergeist can do so much more with that. It's not only chucking things, it's to like turn things on, and it just as a entity itself, from what I hear, and I've read, it has all those abilities instead of just a few abilities that a normal entity would have, and that's what makes it a poltergeist.
The problem with trying to figure out if something's a poltergeist or not is also that it tends to start very small, to where it seems like more of a haunting, just a normal haunting. Before it escalates to the point where you're like, okay, this is a little different. This isn't just Casper moving the furniture every once in a while. He's throwing kids across the room, or scratching people, smacking them, or making having ectoplasm, all kind of thing, making the walls bleed.
More,
stuff. It can get really crazy.
Yeah, it's more like, I wouldn't say like evil, but it's definitely they can scratch people, like they open doors like constantly, things go shut across the, it's just seems like it ups a level every time, to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, there's no ignoring it, because I've heard people go, oh well, I've ignored it, and I'm to the point where I can't ignore it, and I can't, like, oh well, it's this, or well, it's that,
Yeah, I feel like they're like a spoiled toddler. They throw tantrums the more you try to ignore them. So we definitely bringing it up because they just want to pay attention. So it's they're interesting. We haven't had any like that. Now we do have a place near us that she's not a poltergeist or considered a poltergeist, but she does do a lot of damage to a kitchen area in that place. I've been trying to get in that place since I was, I don't know, high school. And I've been closed twice. I was taken on a tour, was said, you have free reign tonight. And then when I got there, we were already there playing a show, but after the show, we had all the equipment, and the owner had left, and the general manager had no idea we were supposed to do it. So we couldn't get the owner back on the phone, so we couldn't do it that night. And then another time, new owners said they would do it, and then they went under like probably a month later. So that's the 2 times. There's 3 entities there. One's evil, but it hasn't really interacted. It just is there, and it kind of stares at you and kind of creeps people out. One's a little kid. It's just an imprint, so it doesn't do anything. It does the one thing every single time. There's no interaction. But the main ghost likes to destroy the kitchen. She'll throw stuff everywhere. She is obsessed with the condiment drawer. They have like a cabinet, and they had to put locks on the cabinet because she would just knock stuff over. And she still does, even with the lock on the door. She'll just knock all the condiments around. She'll open up the fridge and take out stuff and leave it on the counters. And then upstairs, the living quarters. And when certain owners would live there, she would come and bother them in their room. So like, she's obsessed with the men. You can smell her perfume down the hallway occasionally when she come by, and she would sit down on the bed, and you would see an imprint of her butt where she would be right there and watching the male sleep. So
that's not creepy or anything.
Yeah. But other than that, she's not mean. So but we for poltergeist stuff, no, we don't really know anything around here that in any plans to investigate. We've heard some stories of some like the creeper entity in a couple of places, but we haven't seen any anywhere that we've been, and the other places like Waverly Hills we haven't been to yet. But the creeper would be pretty wicked. A couple places we know have, so one that we've been to had doppelgangers, but we never saw one of those. So, but we'd love to possibly see one of those. That's pretty creepy. I do have to about a friend who did that though. That same friend that I told you his uncle had that bayonet. His house, his old house, apparently had a doppelganger of some sort because it would mimic their voices. So they would hear like their dad or their brother call to them, and they'd come downstairs and they wouldn't be there. And for the longest time, it would happen just to individuals. So they all just said, well, I'm just hearing things. And one day my friend and his mom were both at the house, and they both heard his father call from the den, calling his mom's name. So my friend runs downstairs, comes down, and his mom was in the kitchen. She's like, "Did you hear him?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, his daddy's home." And all of a sudden, they get a phone call. Dad called. He had just left work. He's about 15 minutes out, so he's not even there. And so at that point, they finally realized, oh yeah, it's not just in our heads, because we both heard it and both thought he was here, and he's not here. He had a bunch of stuff happen there, some really weird stuff, but he moved, so his family's not there anymore. But my house could be haunted. We haven't done an investigation there. I tend not to. What was it? There's a dating saying for, like, you don't crap where you work, so you don't date people you work with.
Right.
I don't want to agitate the ghost that lives in my house. She has ripped a deer head off of my wall. I've heard a woman talk multiple times in my daughter's room. Usually she's not there. Like, I've had like ghost animal feels, like dog walk across my leg, but there's no dog in my room or even in the house at the time. They're all outside. I'll have something that's brushed my leg.
That's kind of creepy.
And I've had we had a fire alarm that would I had to take the batteries out because it would go off when I walked by it in my room. I would, if I walked through the threshold, it was creepy enough because it has a woman's voice and it says fire, fire, like that kind of stuff. I'm like, I guess she's telling me I'm hot. I appreciate it, but this isn't gonna work out. I'm sorry.
Maybe she's telling you you're hot. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm gonna chalk it up to that. But yeah, she hasn't been. Besides the thing coming down the one time, it hasn't really been me. My son said he's seen her before in the hallway, but I don't know if that was like dreaming kind of thing or what. I've never seen an entity there, but we've heard it. I was in the closet on the phone with my wife looking for clothes for my daughter, and she's like, "What was that?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "There's a woman's voice on the phone." And the closet is where I feel the weirdest energy. That one closet seems to be where the activity's coming from. That's around where I hear the voice, occasionally of a female. So I hear noises in there during the day because I work from home doing IT work, and I have like the baby monitor will be there and it's still on, and I'll hear things like walking around in the room. I've never seen it though. I only hear it, and the moment I turn to look, it doesn't do it again. And then I turn away, and then you hear click, 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 or knock, knock, or stomp, stomp, and I'm like, turn back, doesn't happen. Constant. It's obnoxious more than anything else. But Swisher is obsessed with me doing an investigation in my house, and I'm like, I'm not doing it.
Right.
Because if I activate her,
I don't want to agitate what's here.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with that. So I have my kids here. I don't want them to have to deal with it. So I try to keep it outside. I keep my work away from my house on that, except for when I work from home.
Have you thought about doing a cleansing to try and clear out whatever person is hanging around?
No. So definitely, if I felt like we were in danger at this time, I would definitely look at maybe burning some sage around the house and maybe doing some different things to try to cleanse it, or maybe even bring it. One of the guys we do stuff with, the one that had the coins, he's actually he used to do exorcisms, so I could get him to come out too to help. But like I said, I don't feel danger. I don't feel uneasy in the house, minus that closet. It's a little creepy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say maybe don't go in the closet.
Yeah, I'd probably leave it alone a little bit.
Yeah, you talked about your fire alarm. About 2 months ago, we lived in a house, and the fire alarm kept going off. Like, there was 2 of them that kept going off. And we were like, what the hell? We pulled it off the wall. Okay. We flipped the battery because the little when you slide it open to get the battery out,
Yeah.
It won't close unless there's a battery in it.
Right.
So we flipped the battery around so that it wasn't connected to the little
Yeah.
the 9-volt batteries that have the string, and then am I making sense?
Yes.
Oh, we got you. We got you. Yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, so we flipped it around in both of them, and then we took those things and put them in the garage. And Wendigo and Skinwalker can testify, those suckers went off. Like in the middle of the night, we would hear them and we'd be like, what the is that? Come to find out, it was the fire alarms. And we're sitting here going, we took it off the wall for its source. We turned the battery around. How the hell is this thing still screaming at us?
Yeah. Have you seen the because of that? It made me think of the flashlight trick you can do, where you can keep the battery somewhat apart from it, but the theory is the ghost can make that connection, and so you can ask them to answer your questions. Or I know Josh Gates did this one time on Expedition Unknown with Grant from Ghost Hunters and a couple other people, and they were on Queen Mary. And they had 3 lights, and they were like, "Hey, can you touch the middle light? Or can you touch this light?" And it would do it. They got a couple of times where it would do it. The cool thing was they used the Xbox Connect, and they have it rigged up to where, because that looks for bodies and then makes little dots and draws a stick figure basically.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh Gates is in the frame, so he's the stick figure. We ask it to do the lights, and then he comes off of focus, and the stick figure next to him reaches across his body and touches the light.
That's kind of creepy.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I wasn't there, so I can't debunk it, but
we've heard that, but it was kind of like how you said, there might be something at your house, but no, I don't really
you don't want to fuck with it.
I don't want more happening, so we were just kind of like, okay, we'll stick it in like a box or them in boxes or something. Just didn't want to I'm there in my own home, whatever might be there.
Yeah, if I'm somewhere else, I'll do that all day long. We'll have that conversation. I'll agitate the ghost if I have to. If I don't like the ghost, now if it's a peaceful ghost, I don't want to be that kind of guy that just tries to provoke it. But if it's something that I don't respect, then I will provoke him all day long. As long as it's not my house.
Okay, so I know you guys have a few clips of your show, or a clip of your show that we're going to share. I have a feeling that we could sit here all night and talk, so maybe we'll have you guys come back on every so often. Actually, would be great to have you guys as star guests frequently to talk about your experiences as you continue through your show.
And y'all can,
we're going to go ahead and share your... Oh, go ahead.
I'll say, yeah, and you can, like I said, we would love to have y'all on ours. We're going to be doing a series just talking to investigating groups, especially, and podcast and series content creators and stuff in the genre. We don't have to talk just ghost, but that's where I'm gearing towards with this particular podcast.
Absolutely, and like we spoke earlier, you just got to let me know when you would like to do our group, and I can make sure our group is aware so that we can be on yours. We all use Restream here, so hopefully you'll be able to work with us on that, because this is the only platform we use. My son's school texted me, sorry.
You want to share it? All right.
All right, so I'm gonna allow the thing. Here we go.
Annabelle stays
Which, I mean, it's not the movie Annabelle, not the real doll, which is just a Raggedy Ann.
or Raggedy Andy. Yeah, I'll just put it on the toaster, right?
Oh yeah, one of
Swish
these nice coasters that you can't see because it's too far away. All right. Anyways, so we are going to take a trip down, down to Georgia, and I'm going to start us off with the lovely town of Marietta, Georgia.
It's a lovely town.
It is.
I mean, it's pretty cool.
Maybe.
They've got a square.
Maybe I drove through. I don't know.
Marietta Square is really cool. Lots of cool bars and stuff.
They got a cool theater, the Strand.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. One of the places, which I'm not going to talk about, but Hemingway's is apparently haunted as well as the city morgue. So, yeah, but that's not one of the ones I'm focusing on today necessarily, or tonight, or whenever this is. I've been drinking a lot. I don't know what's going on with that.
Maybe you should. All right, keep drinking. You know what? Pour another one.
I ain't gotta go nowhere, man. It's my house.
You got any root beer for the rum chug?
Yes, I actually do.
Cinnamon toast crunch incoming.
Woo-wee. Oh, come on, man.
And you got those pickles.
I do have those pickles. You be my guest.
No, we agreed together.
Who agreed? I didn't agree.
You agreed by buying them.
No,
I didn't buy them. My mom bought them for my wife.
Gave them to you.
because they're nasty.
Because
Nope.
they're good.
No one's had them yet. They're just sitting
You're
up there, nice.
I'm the only one that I've had them. They're amazing.
Eat the whole jar right here, right now.
He'll let me spend the night. I don't
He
know.
will die. He eats the whole thing of that by himself.
As skinny as he is,
Yeah,
he'd be dead.
And then you got to use a wheelbarrow to like push me into work. All right, I got Chris here.
Special delivery. Anyways, all right. So our first city.
And then we'd show one clip of the thing talking to us.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah, Jensen, oh, it's got B in her belly.
Uh,
It's got B.
let's do that one. Yeah.
It's got B. Huh? It's got B in her belly.
So I think I should get
It's got B.
I'll do.
You haven't allowed it yet, right?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, did you allow it yet?
Yep.
The other share? I'm sorry.
One more time.
You do the tail. Now you do the bang it. I can.
Very, very, very faintly.
Will you stop this? Better? I got her some drink. I did. No, I got it. I got it. Okay, just give it to her. Will you have drink it?
All right. That's it for that one.
Okay.
I
That's
got
it.
this. I got this.
That one, though, the one on the bed is the one I told you. At that particular moment, it was, is Skinner your friend? And she said no. Which was like the title indicates, he's not in, he's not in the ghost zone, so he hasn't been friend zoned by a ghost, which is good for him, I guess. Good confidence. Confidence boost.
There you go.
But yeah, we talk about the drinks a little bit. We try to get into the ghost stuff. We tell mostly stories just from the haunted places in those towns, and then we'll have other content streams that are more along the lines of haunted locations or on-site investigations, which we've done podcasts for. Unfortunately, some of the videos have been lost. Like I told you before, that hospital one, the camera footage, the SD card was corrupted, so the whole podcast from the filming side is gone. We still have the audio. We are releasing all these in podcast format soon, so they'll be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, all those podcast platforms.
That's awesome. Skinwalker and Wendigo, did you have any thoughts, questions before we end the show?
Talkative.
They're
Those are our
very
silent
talkative.
partners.
They're not normally this quiet. Go ahead.
We're good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It looks like Wendigo's trying. There we go.
Okay. Okay, there we go. My stuff wasn't unmuted, and I just realized it was unmuted. No, we didn't really have any questions. You guys kind of asked everything.
So you guys, how long are your seasons, and is this the first season that you're doing, or is this now your current second season that you are
First
working
season.
on?
Yeah,
First season.
Yeah, first season. We try to release videos at least once a week. So we're current right now. That's for that series, and we're adding more as we go. I still have a lot of old footage that we're digging up just for shorts, and trying to get the podcast videos up. Unfortunately, we only have one. We might have the Lynchburg one, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
And then, so we will start a series pretty soon on haunted hotels. Our whole purpose is to go and stay in a haunted hotel in the room that is the most haunted, and do a podcast and then a live stream of the investigation while we're there. And our first one will be November 18th and 19th in Savannah at the 1790s Inn. So we'll be doing that, and that's live stream.
Well, that'll be awesome. You'll have to tag me in that so I can share it with my groups.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're excited. And we'll also be doing another one while we do these hotels. If there is, sometimes there may not be, but haunted cemeteries, we're going to do a little mini series on that. It's not investigation necessarily, it's more just a walk through, where we'll just talk about stuff in those cemeteries. And the first one for that will be that same weekend, and we'll be doing that on the Colonial Cemetery, I think it's called. Really, really cool cemetery, lots of cool things. There's actually a video a guy got on a VHS back in, I think, the 90s or maybe early 2000s of a little boy running from a gravesite, runs, jumps up into a tree, and then falls out of the tree. It's pretty wild. I found exactly where he came from and actually retraced it when I was there last time. But we'll be going there, talking about that, talking about all the history there, and then actually outside of that cemetery is some other crazy haunts just outside of the cemetery. Because the cemetery used to be bigger, and they shrunk it. So even outside of the cemetery is basically hollow ground. So you'll
wow.
There's a playground on that in one spot with a lot of kid ghosts that play on that playground. It's
You're like, yeah, nobody does a fucking playground in the goddamn cemetery.
It sounds good. Yeah, let's add a playground to this gravesite. Yeah.
Like, who thought that was a good idea? Oh my
Are
gosh.
you guys going to come out west?
I mean, we'd love to. That depends on funds going forward. That's a stretch. We have plenty to do here for a lot cheaper that we'll probably be doing first. But I would love to stay on the Queen Mary. There's tons of like hotels in the California area that are crazy haunted. You can see Marilyn Monroe. There's Belushi is in one of them, which is a crazy story on its own about the chateau, I think it's what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Where a little kid saw him, and when they asked him, he said, "Yeah, the funny man." They kept calling him the funny man, and then when he actually showed him a picture, or he saw him on TV one day and was like, "Where's the funny man?" He was talking about Belushi, and Belushi had died or in a part of that area. I think they found him dead there in that particular room. But you got tons of stories in California, so I would love to go there as well. So definitely would try to come out that way. Stanley Hotel in Colorado, like it's all kinds of good stuff out there.
So there's a lot of haunted hotels here.
Yeah.
My husband actually works for one. called Binions. So, like, I was, I want to try to get to these hotels,
Mhm.
but um, they're just crazy expensive.
Yeah, definitely. And some of them, like the Savannah one, you had to get 2 nights. So I was kind of like, oh, that's great. So
John, Wendigo.
we're looking at one other, like getting another location so we can
They're
do
frozen.
one.
Are they frozen?
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, why are they all sideways?
Because we died.
Aye.
Yeah, so we're looking to try to get one other one while we're in Savannah so we can kind of split our team up and do one team does one night and the other one does the other night, and then they swap.
Mm-hmm.
So that we can get more bang for our buck in Savannah. But like I said before, Savannah's so full of haunts. Like, you've got Moon River Brewing, you've got 79's Inn, Marshall House, the Pink House, I think is what it's called, the Pirate House, which is a restaurant, the Sorrel Weed House, which is a crazy story. Ghost Hunters got one of their tourist EVP sessions at Sorrel Weed. It's creepy and very sad. That EVP. You should, if you have to look it up. It's wild.
Another one that has a lot of sadness to it, a lot of sad feelings to it. It's the Winchester Mystery House.
Yeah.
Now there's one that I would love to go to.
Sacramento, yeah.
Yeah, that's where the heiress of Manchester weapons built her house to have all kinds of strange mazes and stuff going to nowhere, and stairs that go to nowhere, and doors that open to walls, and but the reason it's considered one of the sadder haunts is because people have died during construction of the home. People have died due to the weapons that were used. She also used to do what do you call it? With the Ouija board. Yeah, seances. Thank you. She used to do seances, but she was surrounded in a room that had it was just a room with mirrors. So she was basically creating her own portal to these other dimensions. And it's said that there's a mixture of ghosts and entities and even demonic entities in that place because of what she used to do, trying to make amends for the weapons destruction.
Yeah, it's a cool story on that. The Bell Witch Cave, I've been really wanting to go there. That's up, I think it's near Adams. It's north of Nashville, but the Bell Witch Cave, just the whole story of the Bell Witch, which was just crazy in itself. But now apparently the cave is haunted. So that's near there. There's a cave. The farmhouse is gone. But the whole story and even the fact that President Jackson was actually there to see her or see what's going on and all the stuff that happened. That's a really cool one to go do. There's so many. So
this world is full of all kinds of crazy, unexplored, or explored and unknown haunts, and it's fascinating because people have a mindset. Most people have a mindset that they don't believe in the paranormal. Some people have the mindset that they don't believe in extraterrestrials. Personally, my mindset is it's asinine to think we're the only planet in all of the galaxies and all of the universe that has life on it. Let's be honest, the government actually has now accepted and acknowledged the existence of unknown aerial phenomena. Now, they can't possibly call it UFOs because they told us for all of forever that it didn't exist. So they've changed the name. It's now an unidentified aerial phenomenons. Yeah. But we have our own government now acknowledging that these UAPs exist, that they pose a national security risk. So there's a lot about this world that's just completely unexplainable.
Yeah, it's mathematically implausible for there not to be some sort of life somewhere in the universe just because of the sheer number of stars, and then sheer number of stars that would then have planets, and then planets that would be in that Goldilocks zone, or then that's just constrained on what
we know life to be not what other places life could develop completely different than what would be here. Yeah, that I attribute the ghosts, and I say this for most like skeptics of anything really, is I understand where you're coming from as a skeptic if you haven't had an experience.
Exactly.
I ask that you have an open mind to people that have had experiences. So ghost would be a prime example. If you've never experienced ghost, then yeah, you probably don't believe it. It's like the old seeing is believing thing. So yeah, like it's a lot easier to believe something if you have actually experienced it. So I get it. But just don't, don't knock people that have had those experiences. And just say, you're just crazy because you don't know.
Right, exactly.
And you can look at evidence, and if you weren't there experiencing it when it happened, you can come up with 1,000 different reasons why it's fake. So I get that mindset. And you have to scrutinize, especially from a scientific standpoint. You have to scrutinize every piece of stuff. But there's just certain things you can't explain when you're there. Even trying to run through scientific stuff, you'll believe if you have.
Yep. Absolutely. And I want to say thank you guys today. I know if I could, I'd keep going, but I usually try to keep my episodes to an hour. I've actually extended to try and make it last longer. But I want to thank you guys very much for coming on the show today. Again, let me know when you're available for me and my team to be on your show. We'll be more than happy to do so, and hope to have future interactions as well. Thank you to my co-host Drusilla. Talk Haunted to Me will be coming out with their season episodes when?
So we do it weekly. So we've already started with we have 3 out. Our 4th one will be uploaded probably pretty soon. We actually haven't done the 4th state. No, we got to do the 4th state. But we have the Waverly Hills episode that we talked about, which will be uploaded this week. And then we've already uploaded our first podcast from our location, one of our on-site location podcasts. We just constantly pump out this stuff. Come visit us at Hot Atlanta as well on I think it's the 22nd to the 25th of September. We'll be exhibiting on the virtual side, so it's just a virtual experience for us. And then November 18th and 19th, we'll be doing our first live stream of Savannah at the 1790s Inn. We'll be spending the night with Anne the Ghost. We'll see what happens.
All righty, guys. It sounds like you guys have quite the adventure ahead of you.
Yep.
We look forward to hearing from you and seeing your episodes. Drusilla and I will, of course, talk to you guys in the future. And please, everybody have a wonderful night. Thank you for staying with us on Ladies of the Paranormal World.
Thanks.
Thanks.